Alright, I'm going to replace the crankshaft seal on my 06 Nissan Altima here with the 2.5 4-cylinder, the QR25 engine. It should be the same for any other vehicle with this engine. It might vary slightly by years or whatever, but it's going to be the same basic thing. And the Altima's had this engine, the Sentra's had the engine, and their little truck had it, and I'm not sure about other vehicles, but so this would apply to pretty much anything with the QR25 4-cylinder in it. And I'm actually doing this today because I am installing this lightweight aluminum racing crankshaft pulley by 2J Racing. But I'm doing this video separate from this because I assume you guys looking this up to replace it because you have an oil leak, you're not going to look up a pulley install video. So that's what this video is for. But if you want to see the pulley install video, if you're interested in doing that as well, I'm going to be posting that as well. You can just go under the Altima playlist on the channel to find that. But this video is just going to be replacing the crankshaft seal. So to install the seal, you're going to have to take off the crankshaft pulley, obviously. So I need to get this wheel off of here, so I'll break these lug nuts loose, get the car lifted up, get the wheel off so we can get to the crankshaft pulley. So once you got your wheel off, car's secure on a jack stand, there's your crank pulley, so your crank bearing will be underneath of it. So now we need to get this crank pulley off. Impact gun is going to work the best if you have one, but I'm going to try to remove and install this thing with generic tools, just in case that's all you guys got. So let's see if I can get this off of there. Alright, so yeah, this is just turning on me, which I kind of expected. So you're either going to need an impact or you're going to have to get a crank pulley lock tool. I don't have one, so I can't really explain to you how it works or show you or whatever, but it gives you a way to lock this pulley so you can get it off with hand tools. But if you have an impact, it'll just take that bolt right off. You can try jamming stuff in there, like screwdriver, whatnot. I don't know how strong this case is, so when doing that, and that's why really if you're gonna need to lock this because you don't have an impact, that's why you really want to use the tool, that way you don't risk damaging anything. Also, you want to go ahead and hit this with some PB Blaster and let it set for 15-20 minutes to try to break that rust free. It'll make it easier to get that bolt out. 3/4 socket. Well, that's nice. Oh, fuck it. Oh, no. Alright, so I'm going to try a little trick here. I'm going to bump the starter. So with my breaker bar here, as the pulley turns forward when I bump the starter, so it's going to kick this wrench back and lock it against the control arm here, or whatever that is. And then I should be able to basically walk the bolt out that way. The thing is really stuck on there. I've put that adapter through all kinds of hell and never broke it, and it just snapped it right off. Well, I'm gonna have to see if I have a 1/2-inch drive and try that again. Well, oh, that's great. I hit my oil filter. Just keeps getting better and better. So that's pretty effing tight because usually that works. And watch out for your oil filter. So now I pretty much have no choice but to, with it being so tight, I'm gonna have to get a better impact gun. I've been needing one for years, but I guess it's time. Lucky me, it came fully charged. So this doesn't take it off nothing. Well, it's 1,200 foot-pounds of torque. Double check my socket. Jesus. Fuck it. Yeah. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Jesus. Alright, well, finally I got it out. I rocked it back and forth twice and then it finally broke free, so just hitting it backwards wasn't taking it out, and on a whim I just flipped it forward a couple times and wrapped it real quick forward a few times and then back, and then it came out. So yeah, good luck doing that with hand tools and a pulley lock. It's not gonna happen, at least not if yours is as seasoned as mine was. So all right, now we can advance here. All right, so now that I finally got that bolt out of there, I got to get on the tensioner pulley and relieve tension so I can pull this belt off so that we can pop the pulley off. Alright, so your tensioner pulley is just above and to the right of your crank there. So you just need to push towards the back of the car with your wrench. And then that'll release the tension off the belt, and then you can slip the belt off. Alright, then to get your pulley off to get to the crank seal, you most likely need a slide hammer. I'm going to try to tap around on it with a regular hammer. And you want to be careful because you don't want to put any dents in it, because this balances your crankshaft and your whole engine and all that. So lightly, I'm going to try to tap around on it, see if I can get it to break free, get it off. After I tap around on it, I'm going to put a crowbar behind it here. And I may be able to get it off using that method with some patience. If not, I'm going to have to hook my slide hammer up to it and pull it off with that. So unless you have a really thin crowbar, you're not going to be able to get under this back edge here. Obviously, if you're retaining the stock balancer, crankshaft pulley, you're going to want to be careful not to mess anything up. You might be able to, depending on the orientation of your crowbar, this isn't even a standard crowbar here, try to hook it on the lift slip. Obviously be careful because you don't want to punch a hole through your block. So slide hammer is the ideal tool here. If you use a crowbar, do so at your own risk. Slide hammer is the proper tool. You have little hooks that you'll hook in here. It's a rod with a weight on it, and you slide it and slam it, and it'll yank this off for you. But not everyone has one of those. So if you're not going to use a slide hammer, proceed at your own risk. But I'm trying to do it without my slide hammer to show that it can be done, but again, that's on you. And where do I have this? Obviously on these fins, you want to be careful. Your belt rides on that. But I was trying to show you that it's kind of hard for me to do while recording, but I had this wiggling like it's close to coming off, and I haven't even attached my slide hammer to it yet. Yeah, see, I put my bar on there and broke some of those teeth off. You definitely don't want to do that because it'll chew through your belt. So try to catch this lip. But like I said, really you want to use a slide hammer, but I'm trying to do it without, for you guys that don't have one. So I don't know if you can tell the difference from when we started, but I'm getting a gap on the back side. See, you can pry down there, it's moving. So it's trying to come off. If you're patient enough and careful enough, go around the edge on all different sides and kind of like wiggle, walk it off. You might be able to get it off this way. I'm going to keep trying, but again, careful not to punch a hole through your block, so don't pry too hard. But you should be using the slide hammer. Alright, so I almost got it off without using the slide hammer, so I'm kind of trying to capture that on camera for you. I've just kept going back and forth. Oh, there it comes. From one side to the other, sometimes the bottom. And it's just about ready to pop off. Plus, once I got it so far, I was able to get this under the very back side of it, which is helping a lot. Yep. It's coming about 1 millimeter at a time. Come on, get under there. There we go. So, again, highly recommend slide hammer. It's what you should be using. But if you don't and you're careful, you can get it off with a pry bar. So, First thing you notice is that little key slot there. These are keyed. See the key in the top part there? So you need to line that back up and reinstall. But now we can get our seal here. So I'm gonna get that popped out so we can replace it. Alright, so they do make seal pullers like this with a hook. Different size heads. I can swap this out for a smaller or a larger one. That way you can pop them out. If you're patient enough and diligent enough, you might be able to get it out with a screwdriver. I mean, it also depends on what you're working on, because sometimes it's super easy to get it out with a screwdriver. Sometimes it's not. And this was one of those cases where all you need is a screwdriver. So pop it out. Make sure you pay attention to which way it comes in and out. So that's the front side. That's the back side. I mean, it's pretty easy to see which way it goes, but let me get the new one real quick and we'll get it on there. So in goes the new seal. Like that. I mean, they might look different, depends on what you get, but that open side goes towards the back. Whew. Okay. Ah! So you get it set, and then you go around and lightly tap with a hammer until it's all the way flush. Or if you can't get a hammer in there, use a socket on the end of an extension and just kind of lightly tap around to get it in flush. But I'm gonna go grab my hammer real quick. Should go without saying, but obviously don't mess up, you know, the rubber. Don't pinch it, nothing like that. If you bugger it up, you're gonna have an oil leak. So just work on it. Try to hold it in place with your fingers like that, and just give it light taps in different places until it starts going. The top part's going to be the hard part. So, you know, actually what I would do before I already got it started, start it to where that top piece is more pushed in than the rest. That way you can come down around the bottom and side and get it pushed in. But I've already started getting it in there. I got to work on this top side now. I'm probably going to have to use a do this. There, now I can get the top. And obviously as you do this, if that part's going in, then the bottom's going to try to pop out on you. That's why you got to kind of just go around and take your time and ease it in real slow, a little bit at a time, and different places, or it's going to try to pop out on you, or it'll go cockeyed and you'll tear it. So I'm going to work on this and I'll come back to you when I got it finished. Okay, so it's fully installed. When it's flush all the way around, this top was a little bit of a pain in the butt, so I just flipped this. And you don't want to have this just on the rubber. You want it about half and half, to where it's half metal, half rubber. And I just had to go around here with this and carefully get that top put in, but I did manage to get it flush all the way around, so you just might have a little struggle with the top, but it's fully installed when it's basically flush all the way around. It's going to be flush with this metal lip. So now it's fully installed, so now I can get the pulley reinstalled. Like I said, I'm putting a aftermarket aluminum one on there for performance reasons, so I'm not going to be reusing the old one, but the install is going to be the same. So you just need to line up that key that I showed with the top there, and my new one has the same notch. So when you got to slide this on, well, if you're using the old one, if you're just replacing your seal, but make sure you put it back on the right way. It's looks a little different with this new one. As I said, line up this keyway. So depending on where your engine stops, mine's currently at the top, but you know, it depends on where your engine stops. It might be over here, it might be over there, it might be down. Get a light in there, make sure it's lined up perfect, because if it's not, when you go to put your pulley back on, whether it be this old one or the new one, if it's not lined up, obviously it's going to cause you problems and shave material. So at this point, once I'm sure it's perfectly lined up, I got it started there. I'm going to take a block of wood and a hammer and lightly tap on it to try to drive that down on the shaft. I want to get it down as far as I can before I reinstall the bolt. Alright, well, I don't know if that's because that's brand new, but it's just slid right on, easy as pie. So now I'm ready to torque it down. This is where you really want that lock tool. That may not have helped you get it off, because like I said, that was so tight. I don't know if it would have broke or not, but it will work for getting this torque. So the torque spec on this is 87 foot-pounds of torque. So at this point you could lock your tool in, and you might even be able to jam something in there, because your torque is torquing to 87 foot-pounds of torque is not going to be nearly as tight as it was trying to get it off. So you might be able to get something in there, reinstalling the old one, and lock it in place so you can achieve 87 foot-pounds of torque with your torque wrench. I'm not going to jam anything in there on my new aluminum one, but with only needing 87 foot-pounds of torque, your lock tool, if you have one, should work. And that's exactly how you should do it, and that's the proper way. The way I'm going to do it, I've been working on cars for almost 20 years. I'm going to put the belt back on here. I'm going to get it as tight as I can before it starts spinning the whole belt and pulley system. And then I'm going to give it a few blips with my less powerful impact wrench. Watch it turn, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to guess, a 32nd of a turn, or just watch it turn a little more than what I could get it, and then that should be about 87 foot-pounds of torque. But don't do it that way. Use a lock tool, or get it locked up somehow. Get a proper torque on there. You can do the other method, but it's really risky. If you get the torque wrong, if you get it too loose, for one, your bolt could back out and then your pulley will fall off. If you get it too tight, then that puts too much strain on these bearings in here that the shaft rides on, and you can wear out your crank bearings, and well, that's pretty much a destroyed engine. So I'm 100% recommending not doing what I'm doing. Do the proper method, get a lock tool, get your 87 foot-pounds of torque. But I'm going to do my own thing here because I know what I'm doing. So getting the belt back on here should be pretty self-explanatory. You just need to pull this back down, route it the way it was. So pay attention to how it was routed. Get this back down here enough, or whichever way. That way you can, once it's routed around everything else like it's supposed to be, then you just slip it over this, and then you can relieve tension. Double check, make sure it's lined up on all the pulleys and it's not coming off the edge or anything like that. So I'm gonna get that back on here so I can get this torque back down. All right, so I got my belt rerouted. I got my bolt torque down. All I need to do is put my wheel back on here. When you put your wheel back on, you want to, a lot of people don't know this, but you want to crisscross pattern torque your wheel back on. I usually torque car wheels 90 foot-pounds. You can go 100 if you want. Typically that's where you're at for most sedans, is 90 to 100 foot-pounds of torque on your lug nuts. But I like to do it in 3-step. I get it torqued as much as I can while it's off the ground in a crisscross pattern, never one next to the other. So you do, this being a 5-lug, you just do a star pattern. Do 30 foot-pounds of torque, 60 foot-pounds of torque, and then 90 foot-pounds of torque for your third set, and then go over it and recheck them all again. So you do that, you're done. I'm running out of daylight here, that's why I went ahead and set all that before throwing it back on. But obviously keep an eye on your new seal. Make sure you don't develop any leaks. But that's how you do it. I'm going to get the wheel thrown back on here, and I'll be good to go. So if this video helped you out, make sure you hit the like button for me. If you want to know when I post, hit subscribe, hit the bell, click all, and you'll be notified. Check out the channel, see some of the other stuff I've been uploading, like mini bikes and videos on the Mustang and guns if you're into that sort of thing. But I appreciate you watching, and catch you guys on the next one.